So in this video, we're going to be building a mantel that goes on the shiplap fireplace slash TV wall that I built for my daughter about a year ago. Now I'm going to be using the term we a lot in this video, and that is me and my son-in-law. He helped out with that project. He's helping out with this project, and by that I mean he funded the whole thing and did most of the grunt work. Now we are going to be using an old piece of truss wood that he found, and we're going to turn that into a fireplace mantel. This thing weighs about 120 pounds as it is, but it's got some really unique features like that hole that's drilled into it for the pinning, and it's really rough looking, distressed wood, as my daughter likes to call it. It just looks like a splinter factory to me. Hey, it's for her house and it's what she wants. Now the first thing we did is we got it in the garage up on a table, and we cut lines down the length of it using a skill saw. All we're doing here is cutting edges to a routed groove for this backing plate to set, so this mantel sets flush against the fireplace. Once we had established a flat groove using the router on the back side of this beam, we were able to use the drill guide to drill 3/16" holes 6 inches deep into this beam, using cordless drills, which is a real pain. Currently waiting for a drill to finish charging up because I ran them all down. So all the batteries got overheated and wouldn't charge. So here what I'm doing is hollowing out the back side of the beam so that it is lighter. It weighs approximately 85 pounds cut to length like it is with the groove cut in the back, and I would like to get it down considerably more before hanging it on the wall. So I tried a lot of different methods here. I tried just drilling out a bunch of holes and then chiseling it out, drilling out holes and then using this reciprocating saw to cut through it, and none of that really worked. So after trying different tools and methods, I finally decided the best way is to drill 4 holes, one in each corner, take a chainsaw and just cut it out. Worked perfect. And as Simon and Garfunkel once said, that's the sound of silence. So it's time to call in the dogs, go get some gasoline and mix up some 2-stroke 50-to-1 mixture and get this thing going again. I know you know how this part works. Just hit the like and subscribe button, and just maybe we can bring about world peace. Although with the way things are looking over in Israel, it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon, does it? So even though it's going to look a little like the Keystone Cops, I'm going to go ahead and speed these other clips up by about 20 times, 30 times their normal rate, just to get through all this, because it's a lot of making sawdust and just cutting holes. Oh yeah, this chainsaw is the bomb. It makes a lot of man glitter though, man, but it made short work of these. You can see the holes I drilled, and then I just took that chainsaw and cut those grooves. The first one's a little rough there. It makes a lot of sawdust, but that's all weight coming off. This is just a little snippet of me drilling the 4 holes, one in each corner, so that I can run the chainsaw down and without it binding. It helped out a lot. Now the other thing you'll notice is I'm using different cordless drills, and I had to change the batteries out. Even on just drilling these 4 holes, I'd have to change the battery at least once, no matter which drill I was using. And for the record, I had 3 different drills. I have a Ryobi that's probably 7 years old. It's the oldest drill I have, 2 batteries. The batteries would run down faster because they're older, but it had better torque and it would drill the holes better until it ran out. So that's the Ryobi. The next oldest drill I had was a DeWalt, again with 2 batteries, and it did pretty good. Probably of the 3 of them, it was the best. It had the best torque, and it seemed to work better than the other 2. It lasted a little longer. The batteries would get hot and overheat, and I couldn't charge them as fast, so that was one thing about it. And finally, the third drill was this red Craftsman, and it's the newest. It can't be more than a year old, maybe a year and a half old, two batteries. And the batteries, it held up fine battery wise, but capability wise, torque wise, it just couldn't handle it. It would not drive the drill. And it feels like to me it did something happened and it broke in the chuck. So anyway, just my commentary on those three. I don't really have any preference for brands, but using the three of them all day long on this project, you can definitely tell the difference in the three different drills. One other thing I'd say is it was a really hot, humid day in Houston, typical Houston day. I have to keep continually drying off my hands because I was sweating, and probably should have been wearing gloves just to make sure I maintained this control over the chainsaw. But it all worked out. Um, Obviously, try to stay as safe as we can. But anyway, got it done. And this is what happens when your batteries run down, or you just drill a drill bit into something that it can't handle. It gets stuck. And I got this one stuck so good I had to pull the drill off of it and go get actually a pipe wrench and a crescent wrench just to work it loose. This happened two or three times during this while I was doing this, and got to be real careful that you don't break your wrist with these drills like this. I really wish I had a true half-inch drill with the second handle, because it will wrap you around that drill bit if the torque is there, and these cordless drills have really good torque. So anyway, just be careful if you're doing that with a big drill bit like this. So at first I went and got a crescent wrench. I tried that. I tried a 7/16 wrench first to try to turn it. It was stuck. Tried a crescent wrench, still wouldn't move. Flipped it upside down and beat on it with a hammer, rubber mallet, to knock some of the sawdust out of it. And that seemed to jar it loose a little bit where I could start turning it. Well, I finally got the drill bit out, and now I'm just cutting out the relief and going back and working on the ones I've already done. Every time I roll this board over and dump out some sawdust, I look in there and see some things I can continue to saw on. So that's what happens when I keep going back and checking these other holes. Seems to work well that way. So now you can finally see a little progress. You can see the chunks of wood that I can break out with the pry bar once I've cut I guess the runners with the chainsaw. It cuts a 3/8 inch gap every time it cuts, and it just makes it easier to break those off when they're sticking up like that. So this is where you get to see kind of the fruits of your labors, all that effort, and they break out in these big old chunks. And all that's left to do is to drill these four holes right here on the end and cut that all out, and clean up these other two. They're kind of rough, and this mantle will be ready to go mount. And when you know it, on the last one, I finally figured out really the best way to do it. I think is to lay it over on its side and run that drill in. Nope, still got it stuck. So anyway, anyway, this was the best way. I figured out the best way to do it is to sit on the stool and run it sideways. That way, all the clippings would peel off with that drill, and it wouldn't bind up quite as bad. Half of the reason why a drill sticks is it gets bound up in all those shavings, that can't get out of that hole when it's vertical. So sitting down and drilling it like this seemed to work really well. But you do everything in small steps, real small. You know, drill a little back out, drill a little back out. So one last battery change, and then get the chainsaw going. And wouldn't you know it, right here on the very last one, it ran out of gas again. So that was 2 tanks full of gas in that chainsaw to cut these 5 hollows on the backside of this this pier beam. I think I also figured the best angle with which to record this, so you can see kind of how I cut the lines. You just take small depth cuts, just like you would with a regular saw, just cutting a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, until I put blue tape on the chainsaw bar, so I knew exactly how deep to take the chainsaw blade, so it wouldn't cut through the other side of this beam, which is just a little over 6 inches on both sides. And then I just cut down through it, and then when I was done with those longitudinal cuts, I would come back and cut across just by plunging the chainsaw. And it's really impressive. It was really impressive as how well the chainsaw worked for doing this kind of thing. I can see how people do their artwork and their carving with a chainsaw. If you had a maybe a smaller blade with a little more control over it, it'd be better. But this one was perfect for what I did and didn't draw any blood. So that's a plus as well. And right on time, my grandson and son-in-law got here just in time to help me clean everything up because we made a mess. Everything's covered in dust. But anyway, I can go hauling off the wood and sweeping up the sawdust is all that's pretty much left. The little Mav, he's right there with into whatever we're doing. If it's digging in the dirt, making a garden, mowing the yard, making sawdust, cleaning up sawdust, he's always a joy to have around. So are the other two. They're just so young they can't really climb down in the dirt yet, but it's going to be fun in a couple of years. But like before, I can never stop fiddling with things. So just looking down in there after I've cleaned it up a little bit, and I can still see some things that can be fixed with this with the chainsaw. So I go back to town making a little more sawdust and just smoothing out the insides, so it's not quite so rough. Dumping out the dust and starting again. I think it frustrates people that work on projects with me, but man, I just love me some power tools. So that's what it looks like now that it's done. All the way, just hollowed it out.
Go get her! Go get her!
Oh, is she in that? Oh, she wrote it down.
We have like secret compartment. You need to be able to put a gun in there or something.
How do you get to? You ever put a
Yeah, no, we need to build a hatch right here. Put a gun in there.
Well, all the hidden gun compartments aside, she did like it, and then we decided to take a look at what it would look like if we wire brush the whole thing to get the dirt, to kind of smooth up the edges, take the rough edges down a little bit, maybe some of the splinters out, then the whole family got involved up until the point where it ended up just being Dad out there scraping on things. So my son-in-law is doing it double-handed. He's over here scraping all the dirt and grime away. Okay, I lied. The last thing I needed to do was to kind of get that backside where it had some straightness to it, because this is just a old beam, and it's not very square in any conversation you'd have about lumber. So trying to get this thing where it had a smooth back edge that would fit flush against her fireplace. And that's all I did was take a belt sander with some like 80 grit sandpaper to knock down all the high points on the backside and have a fairly straight back edge both ways without a lot of air gaps. That would help it fit. And then hopefully you can tell over the course of this video that this thing got a lot lighter. But by the time I was done with these, 6 voids on the back side of this thing, it ended up weighing only 50 pounds. So we took a little over 30 pounds off of this beam by just cutting these hollows on the back side. I'm sure there's simpler ways to do this, but this is all I had at my disposal. So this is the TV stand that we're putting that mantle. That mantle is going to go right there, across there to this side. We built this, and we've got supports on the back side. We've got it reinforced in here. So we're going to do that. And the mount. Okay. Oh, I don't need that, ma'am. Thank you. Put a support across right there. But that board's going to be standing up. Okay. So here you can see the additional support beams we put in because I was concerned about the weight of this beam. We didn't allow for that when we built the cabinet. So we went ahead and reinforced it. And here you can see we've already mounted the metal support bracket to that top beam we put in, to the beams that already existed right down the side of that fireplace, and then to the extra 2 beams that were right out on the end. And all we're going to do now is pick up that that beam and slide it onto that support mechanism.
Wow, it's a lot lighter. It's super light. Well, 2 people. Or do you want to? No, do you want to do it through the bottom or just through that one?
Through the top.
Okay. Okay. So I didn't know if you wanted to go through both. Come your way. Okay, you got mine?
Got it?
Yeah.
I don't have mine.
I got it on mine. Got yours? You got that mallet then? Get yours?
Okay, just a second.
You don't need a mallet, we can push yours. Look at that. Is that what you wanted?
Yeah.
Make it
Pretty good.
It even looks down. Where's that level? Come get the other side. You're supposed to be filming. So
But that could be just the wood.
Yeah.
You know?
But it is leaning.
Yeah, it's leaning.
We could fix that by shimming underneath that metal thing,
Okay.
taking this off, pulling that metal thing and putting like a 1/4 inch shim so that it leans a little bit more, and then screwing it all back down with longer screws. We could fix that, but that's not bad. I mean, it's also this piece of wood is not.
I was about to say, it's just a natural piece of wood. It's not
Yeah.
straight.
Well, there you have it. Got the mantle all fabricated and mounted, and it came out looking a whole lot better than I thought it was going to, but my daughter's a better decorator than I am. So, thanks for watching this video. Now, if you're interested, I did not document the building of this TV fireplace wall at my daughter's, but I am going to be building one for my wife at our house. And if you're interested in that, like and subscribe to these videos, and you'll get notification when that video gets posted here pretty soon. Thanks again for watching. Hope you have a great week.